with business, because that's a large part of our life. And again, as soon as I started to practice allowing, things started working. Up until that point, now with all the control issues, nothing started working. But then there's this sort of dichotomy that goes on where, okay, well, this is going great, it's going great, it's going great, and I'm allowing, and you'll step in and take control and do this, instead of allowing. And then so it's like everything's going so great, and then you're just like, and I know intuitively, you know that it's because you're allowing, but you're still doing a lot of controlling. And it feels like if you let go of the controlling, it's all going to fall apart.
All right, so you have just identified it exactly. So now we'll give you our amplification of that, because you're right on it. You want to say something else?
No, go ahead.
You're right on it. So here's this is really a wonderful thing to acknowledge, because so many of these leading edge creators are having these sorts of experiences. So you lived life and you had a whole bunch of things amassed in vibrational escrow. Then you learned about allowing, and you did a good job of letting go and letting go and letting go and letting go, and looking for positive aspects and applying processes and allowing. Really a good job of allowing this and this and this and this and this. And with each particle of allowing, you allowed more of what you wanted to happen. And so the more you allowed, the more you believed, the more you believed, the more you dreamed, the more you dreamed, the faster the stream went, the faster the stream went, the more you allowed. And so you got this thing going. Now, yesterday there was a wonderful man here that was talking about Buddhism, and he was talking about the releasing and the letting go of things.
It kind of irritated me, but go ahead.
Well, but the reason that it was irritating was because it was almost as if he was pushing against having material dreams. But what was at the heart of his dissension is something that is a really valid thing to consider, because he, at some level, or the teacher that he was referring to, is trying to explain that as you want and allow, this is the way we've been telling you the story for quite a long time. So your contrast causes you to want something which at first you're not a match to, and then you work to become a match to it, and now you are, but now you stand on a new platform from which to want. So the next wanting is ratcheted up a notch because of the platform that you're now standing on. So now you're dreaming broader and coming into alignment. So with each wanting and allowing and wanting and allowing and wanting and allowing and wanting and allowing, the stream moves faster and faster and faster and faster. So any unresolved resistance then shows up more. Now, we want to get back to something that we were talking about earlier, because we were right on the part that you're wanting to focus on. And that is that the bigger your world and the more expansive your dreams, the more things manifest that you think you need to control. In other words, if you're a control freak, we got that right out of your mind. If you're a control freak and your world is small, you can manage it with reasonable effort. But as your world gets bigger and you still have that need to control, there's that tension and so the bigger you dreamed, and to a large extent you were allowing, but Jerry and Esther have this same, Jerry and Esther are understanding your world. Esther says to Jerry on a regular basis, our world they can hardly believe how much they are dealing with they talk on a regular basis about how big their world is and how much more that they have to deal with, and how it's a surprise to them that they're able to accomplish as much as they are able to accomplish. And we've been saying to both of them for some time, the chill factor matters more than ever now, because it's the feeling of getting so good at creating that your creations are now dragging around by the hair. And so it just becomes more important to exercise this art of allowing. Now, since this is what you've come to teach this alignment, it doesn't surprise us that you would create a situation where the stakes are higher, where you're going to focus more. And now we're just going to say in very blunt terms and broad terms what you need to do, and then we'll talk about it incrementally. So in broad terms, you've already said it and we have too, it's a matter of releasing that need for control. And as you've been listening to us in the days that we've been together here, the easiest way to understand that is that the stream is flowing and that you don't need to put a motor on your boat, that the stream is flowing. And so the whole point of understanding that the stream is flowing is that it gives you more reason to give yourself permission to let go of control. But you can't let go of control when you care about the outcome if you don't trust the stream. And so we would say you've come to partial trust. You've come to trust in the law of attraction, and you've come to trust in some of the processes, but you haven't come to total trust in the stream. And that's why, if you've been listening to us, and you have in these days that we've been together, we've been so emphatic about this business of life is causing you to become this, and this you is what's calling you forward. In other words, the part for you, the thing that's going to make you finally give up control, is a realization that it's so big now you can't control it. And that's the best part for us of watching people like you all create a big life, is that you usually won't give up control until it's so big that you realize it's ridiculous to try to control it. We talked earlier about this action world and this vibrational world. And so what it's finally coming down to is you are now ready to step completely into the vibrational world. You are ready to let the vibration be the reason that you expect things to turn out the way they do. In other words, we really liked it when we first began flowing through Esther, and there was such a buzz around earth shift, because it was a topic where a larger segment of population than usual were facing a situation that they'd come to believe was imminent, that they knew they had no way of controlling. They couldn't control it. You can't even push enough dirt together to make another earth. In other words, it's out of your control. So when something that is out of your control is on your table, and your only choice is to let go of control that you don't have anyway and get into that trusting, stream flowing mode, finally you're where you were when you were born. You're where you were before you were born. Now you're completely in alignment. So what's the trust that is required? It's trust in the law of attraction. We think you've got that. It's trust in the other part of you that is evolving. We think you've got that. So what could be the missing particle here?
That's my question to you.
Well, we don't like to use those blanket words like unworthiness, but you allow to a certain extent, you allow yourself to go so far, but you're holding back for some reason. And so what do you think it is? What keeps anybody from letting themselves be who they have evolved to? Can you think of any logical reason? We will tell you what it is. It's that you and almost everybody else, you're not alone in this, we haven't yet convinced you that you really are that being. In other words, there's this feeling of separation. in these last days, and you've been listening carefully, we've been aware of you, our primary intent has been to help you meld together this being that you were before you were born with this being that you are now that you are in this body, with this being that is being born out of this. In other words, but for most humans, there's this powerful separation between that, which is the basis of all feelings of unworthiness. And that is the only thing, but it's a big thing, but it's the only thing, but it's a big thing, but it's the only thing that causes separation between me and me. And so that's where you want to start putting your attention. You want to begin to try to feel like that being that you have become. And as you do that, you're going to begin to feel an actual releasing of the grip on those oars. You're going to be able to feel that this isn't something that you need to manage or control. It's really interesting. The people that we have the greatest difficulty teaching the art of allowing are people who have kids that won't mind them, because they've been trying so hard to get. And if you've got employees that don't mind, in other words, they're or a government that just doesn't get it, and on and on and on it goes. There are so many facets of environment that just don't seem to know what you know, and don't seem to do what you think they should do, and don't seem to be able to take direction either. And it's that feeling of somehow needing to control all of that is sort of eating you up. That's really what it is. And we think these days of talking about this stream and who you are, we think that we've convinced you about this stream. We can feel that you can feel yourself as this evolving being, and this all feels much more simple to you than it has ever felt before. We can feel that transformation that has taken place within you. You are in verbal agreement with that?
Yes.
So if we were standing in your physical shoes, we would say it's not mild irritation that's at the heart of this. It's a stronger irritation, and it's this feeling that I must control. Esther laughed the other night. Now, she has come a long way just in the last month or two, because they were participating in something that she discovered she could not control, and she did not like the way it was going. And she found herself in her bed at night. She would wake up uncomfortable because her body was all bound up, and she would find that she had formed herself into a fetal position and had actually tucked her hands between her knees and was sort of hanging on for dear life, as if she thought if she didn't control that she would spin off into space somehow. And when she awakened, and her arms were asleep, her feet were asleep, her body was all bound up, and she didn't feel good as a result of all of that clenching and not allowing of the flow of the juices of her body. And she asked for us, and we said to her, Esther, just let it all go. Just let it go. And the